Hello and welcome to this on-demand webinar. The title of the session is The Human Element, How to Build and Nurture a Security-Aware Organization. As the name suggests, the focus of the session is all about how organizations in different industries can really build a security-aware culture as an integral part of a wider cybersecurity posture. My name is Johnny Kerr, I'm from the marketing team here at Protect, and without further ado, let's get to meet today's experts. So on the session, we have Lia Edwards, who's our CIO and co-founder here at Protect. And Lia will be joined by Jelle Wieringa, who's a security advocate at KnowBe4. KnowBe4 are a leading provider of security awareness and training solutions. But why is security culture such an important topic of conversation? Recent research from KnowBe4 found that 94% of 1,161 security leaders surveyed said that security culture is the most important element in their security strategy. The research also found that security culture is directly associated with reduced risk. Those organizations that were found to have a poor security culture have a risk that is 52 times higher for employees sharing credentials. This would allow unauthorized access to personal, sensitive and often business critical information. I'll now hand over to Lia and Jelle, who will be discussing security culture in more detail.
Thank you, Johnny. As you mentioned, I am the CIO here at Threat Protect. I work with organizations and companies in aligning their corporate objectives with their IT objectives, identifying what risks they have or could have, and seeing how best to address them.
I'm Jelle Wieringa. I'm the security awareness advocate for KnowBe4. What I do on a daily basis is I talk to organizations, I present at events, I talk to media about the importance of the human factor in cybersecurity. So basically, I try to create a dialogue between organizations and myself to make sure that organizations know how to effectively spend their cybersecurity budget and actually become safer.
It's an important thing, and it's one of the reasons why we're sitting here talking with you today. I suppose kind of in the past 18 months, there's been a real obvious uptake on cybersecurity products and services, and it's not rocket science. It's 100% down to the immediate need for the large population of people shifting to working from home, those that could, obviously. Mm-hmm. The immediate shift pretty much unsettled a lot of people. Not just staff, the organizations, IT departments. I had to scramble and had to move very quickly. Once they had all the logistics and the technical aspects taken care of, they had to turn to addressing the security risks. There are a huge number of statistics out there, and Johnny will put some in front of us, I am sure, all over the internet showing how people are the biggest risk in companies, and there is a large number being responsible succumbing to some version of phishing or smishing, vishing, all the vishings, which leads me to this discussion with you, Jelle. One of the biggest services in uptake has been, at least from our perspective, security awareness training. And as you have insight into this from day to day, you're hopefully going to confirm the trend that we are seeing. And we can pick the brains on some questions that we have had posed to us from both clients and customers. So, is that what you and KnowBe4 have been seeing?
Yeah, well, so what we see today is that a lot of organizations spend a lot of money on the technology side of things. So we all know, right? Technology, people, technology, and processes. Those are the three really big pillars that you see in cybersecurity. And the process side is usually well covered and technology side is well covered. But what we see happening, at least over the past decade or so, is that the people element is kind of forgotten. And what companies do is, well, they treat the people element as a tick in the box. Let's get them awareness training and we're done. And that's simply not how it works. So what we've been seeing, unfortunately, is that by forgetting that human element, is that all of the attack factors that focus on social engineering, that focus on manipulating that human instead of that technology, have basically become the biggest threat factors out there. Social engineering by now is absolutely the biggest one that we see today. So it's even more important for organizations to focus on that security awareness training, but also to do it in the right way. It really isn't a tick in the box, unfortunately. You really have to do it in a proper way and think about how you want to do it, how you want to implement it, who you want to get on board, and how you're going to do that. So that's what we've been seeing over here.
One of the things Johnny posted the other day on LinkedIn is it is a social engineering thing, and it's out of work, but it actually impacts work. And it's that crossover between what is now happening, and it's that comfort maybe and security level of working from home and not having a proper boundary anymore. And one of them, it's the Facebook things, those horrible things that say, what was your porn name is, the name of your first dog and the town you were born in, which, we all know they're usually questions that we're asked, security questions that we're asked when we're putting in, bank, questions and things. And so those are the type of things that I'm seeing that there isn't a proper, I suppose, coverage of those. We talk about the security risks and the phishing and everything and the social engineering at work, but it's that crossover now that is, I see as one of the biggest risks.
Yeah. Well, we still, whether we're at home or we work in the office, we still work with the same confidential and valuable data. That's no different. So the location might be different, but that's about it. And what we see a lot is that people work in unprotected systems. So they have a laptop that their kids use in the evening for playing games. That's the same laptop they're using during the day to do their work on. And that might be an issue. And the data people are spreading on social media, LinkedIn, etc. What a cyber criminal basically does, what a social engineer basically does, is gather as much information about you, its target, as possible. And social media, in all those years, we've been feeding it with more and more information. So it's become a really dangerous tool even, but it's got a very powerful tool for cyber criminals to get information on you, information that could contain your password, information that could contain things like your date of birth, etc. And there's plenty of ways, plenty of social engineering tricks that they can leverage in order to manipulate you. So no, social engineers.
It's hard. It's so easy. Like we've made it as easy as possible for cyber criminals and hackers to actually get that information now.
Yeah. Well, take social media. It's free, right? You can just sign up and you can log in and you can put everything you want on your own personal page. Well, it's not as personal as you think. And we are humans. We like to share information. That's what we do. We like to be in the spotlight, and we like to have everybody know what a great life we have. And unfortunately, it gives away a lot of information to those social engineers that we simply don't think about or don't know about. And that's where awareness training comes in, because awareness training, it shouldn't all be only about phishing and phishing and all of the forms of cyber attacks there are. There's also the element of what secure behavior is, because in the end, security awareness training is just a tool. It's a tool to get to secure behavior, and it's that secure behavior we need to focus on. And that includes more than just knowing what type of attacks there are.
Well, so that leads on then to going, do phishing campaigns work? Do these, do the campaigns that we send out, do they work? And I suppose I'm leading you into something because it is something that I feel passionate and strongly about. So I will wait for your response before I butt in.
So you mean the security awareness campaigns against? Sure. So yes, they work. They work brilliantly. Well, security awareness has proven to be one of the more effective ways in combating social engineering. It's making people aware and able to detect those threats, and then giving them the skills to know how to react to those threats. That combination is a powerful one. So yes, it works. What we've seen is organizations that start with doing awareness campaigns within their company, where they start out, and we have something called a phish-prone percentage, which basically means the number of people that click on a phishing email. We can test that, and when they start out, we do a baseline test with them, and we see that the average is somewhere in the 30s, so 35, 36% don't know the exact number, but somewhere around that number. And if you continue with awareness trainings and do that for a year or even longer, you see that amount drop rapidly and pretty heavily. So you see that we end up with somewhere from 3 to 4% of people still clicking on a phishing email. That's if you train them for 12 months. And the thing is, you need to keep continuing the training. You need to keep on going because, well, cybersecurity, it evolves. So the threats evolve as well. So something that you might have learned this year might not be relevant next year, or you need to actually retrain, or it can evolve into a different version of itself. So training needs to continue to make sure that you're up to date and that you actually understand all of the different social engineering attacks and are able to detect and recognize them.
Well, that is pretty much it. You have to have the training, but you also have to have a security culture. And that was kind of where I was leading, in that just having the campaigns alone or the training, you need a culture that says, just be aware. Don't wait for IT or don't wait for compliance or anyone to train you. You should be also aware. It's your responsibility.
Yeah, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Sure, that's true. So if you look at that element of continuous training, for instance, that's part of a security culture. But a security culture in itself is more than just that. It's we define security culture with the various motives that people have to actually have secure behavior. And security culture is something that's part of an organization. I usually describe it as, if you look at company culture, then security culture is a chapter in that book of company culture.
Yeah.
And that's where it should be. It should be an overarching theme within the whole company. It shouldn't be something that's just for a specific department or for a specific person. It's something that should be ingrained into the essence of the organization, the same as company culture is. And where company culture usually says that it wants to create a fun and safe environment for people to work in, that's the same goal that security culture has. We want something where people feel safe, people know how to actually defend, and people are less vulnerable to attacks. Because people that know how to detect those attacks and are able to react to them securely, that's when they know they can actually do their job properly. They don't have to be afraid of being attacked anymore.
No. And that sort of leads on with the security culture. And I do agree with you, it is a chapter within the company culture. I've seen it addressed many, many ways. And one of the trends I'm seeing at the moment is gamifying their security culture. And they're rewarding staff. And sometimes it's not so much monetary, but they can pick from an Amazon voucher to a new headset, something work related, as a reward for being a good security staff member. Mm-hmm. I'm in two minds with the gamification, because there are some people that just don't respond well to gamification, and I just don't know whether it's setting the right example. But in the companies that I've seen it perform, it's working. Are you seeing similar?
Yes and no. So the whole idea behind gamification is motivation. You want to motivate people to take part in the training. You want to motivate people to actually have secure behavior. The thing with the whole gamification, or the thing with the whole motivation, is that if you look at the reward segment, rewards tend to work, especially if you look at monetary rewards or gifts, then they tend to work for very simple tasks. So when I ask you to do something very simple and I put a nice bounty on it, so you can earn some money when you complete it, or you can earn even more if you do it even better, etc., etc. That typically works. So what we see is that if you do gamification alone on just purely the training, so I give you some security awareness training, I teach you some skills, you take an exam, that part, if you look at the whole gamification and giving them a monetary reward or something, that works really well. But if you look at more advanced skills that where you need to be creative, where you need to have autonomy and be able to decide for the right, basically decide for what steps are correct in the process. So you need something more than an A plus B is C type of thing. Then rewards don't work that well. At least not monetary rewards. And MIT has done whole studies on this, actually pretty interesting to read. So what we usually say is if you want to do security training and have them get good grades, sure, monetary rewards work fine. But if you want them to actually display secure behavior, you need to take an extra step. Yes, you can reward the first part, have them do the exams, do the skills, train, etc. But if you want secure behavior, you need more, and that means that you need to create motivation that's more intrinsic. And you can do that not by rewarding them. You need to make sure that you basically onboard them to the idea of why they need to be more secure. They need to understand what's in it for them. So communication is a way better thing combined with gamification to get good results.
It's true. And I must say, like, one of the happy things I've seen happen over the last 18 months is moving away from the scaremongering type communication that we're doing to staff members and actually addressing, instead of scaring them, saying, this is why. Like, we're opening the doors. This is why we're doing it. The scaring you doesn't work. And so that kind of thing that I'm seeing is, I believe that it's most people that adhere to the policies earnestly attempt to, be cyber secure and do the right thing. And it's probably only between 5 and 10% in the company that are at that are large risks. So should we be focusing a majority of the time on the minority and not worry about the people that are trying to do the best thing that they can?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Well, you shouldn't forget about the minority, nor should you forget about the majority. I think you need to focus on both. It's the type of attention you give them that's important. I think that you need to keep training the majority of people, and I do concur. I don't think the majority of the people is the actual problem. It's the minority that doesn't want to participate, that doesn't want to commit. Those can be the biggest issue. So when you look at the majority of people that do want to participate in the training, that do have a proper intention, good intentions, want to do things right, we need to give them the skills to actually do that. That's what the training needs to focus on. And that majority, those that actually don't want to participate, that don't understand why security is important, or that simply don't want to understand, because you'll have that group too. I think that's partly a management issue where you need to step in as managers. And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to make it mandatory to them. Some people just won't listen unless something has been is mandatory, made by management, has consequences if they don't participate. But the biggest group of those that don't want to participate, I truly believe they don't understand what the use of security is. They don't understand what the dangers are out there, and I do fully agree that we don't want fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That really is a bad choice if you go that route. But it's okay to tell people about the risks. By telling them about the risks, you create a realistic picture of what's out there. And if they see that picture, 9 out of 10 will actually start complying. 9 out of 10 will start participating and actually start doing the training. Reluctantly at first, maybe, but they will start doing it. So it's a mix of individualizing and custom or tailor making your communication, tailor making your security awareness training to get everybody involved.
Well, one of the best things that you mentioned it earlier is that identifying, you can easily find that 5% or the people that aren't participating. Mm-hmm. If you have the security awareness training for a period of time, you can then look back at the results over time and say, okay, here are our trouble areas, here are our trouble people. we have to address them differently. And yes, it does become a management discussion. And I've seen it tackled in a couple of different ways. It's tied to their objectives, which is then tied to their bonus. Or, it's tied to something that they have to complete, or they have to complete this before they can do, an away day. And it unfortunately becomes a carrot and stick situation with those people, because they need a different motivation to achieve the same thing that the other 95% have been doing.
Yeah, true.
So then that goes on to the very next question is, who should be part of your security journey in a company, other than the obvious IT department who is put, or the security compliance department who is put in charge of ensuring this happens. Who else should be part of that journey?
Well, actually, it shouldn't just be the IT department or the security team that's responsible for this, because the minute you start doing that, it becomes, an IT or a security problem. And that's when people start losing their grasp on why you need to do this. Because if it's an IT problem, we have large IT budgets, they'll fix it with technology. And social engineering, what we do, and security culture can't be fixed with just buying IT stuff. It doesn't work that way. You can't buy technology and get this done. So you need to approach it from a different way. What I usually do when I'm in different companies is I see where I can find a way to get HR involved, for instance, because HR is there for the people. A lot of the training budget is already at the HR department. And what we do, security awareness training, it's still training. So you can get HR involved. But if it's a larger organization, you can also get the risk and fraud department involved. Because by actually doing security awareness training, you get a proven reduction of risk, which is, it's what they do. It's what they're looking for.
It's what they want.
Sorry?
It's what they want.
It's definitely what they want. So what I usually do is look at, what do the different departments actually want? How can we combine that with the results of security awareness training and get them involved? So risk and fraud, or HR, IT themselves, because most IT departments have an issue with security awareness training, in that they think that, okay, I sure want everybody to be more secure, and I want my company to be more secure. But the minute I start training new people, it's the same. The result is that they start reporting more phishing emails or suspicious phishing emails. And that's all good and well, but I don't have time to actually look at them, because that's IT's problem today. They don't have any time. That's where the managed services come from, right? So we have managed MSSPs that offer these services to customers so they don't have to do it themselves. So it's kind of a love and hate relationship IT sometimes has with security awareness training. Then the CISO comes in, so the security department comes in, and he's like, no, we need to do this. It's very important that we actually start training people, that we improve our security culture. And what you don't want within an organization is people butting heads. You don't want battles over where this should be positioned, because it's something that affects every one of us. The one thing I do, and the one thing I always strive for, is make sure that the ownership of security awareness and most definitely security culture lies within the board, or lies within upper management at least. And I'm not talking about the CISO here, because the CISO usually isn't the right person to do this. It's more, for instance, CFO. The CFO is an excellent role to position security awareness training with, and to position security culture with. It's in his direct interest, because by doing this, he's protecting his assets, he's protecting his resources. The point usually within, or the issue within organizations, is getting everybody, getting the attention to this topic, getting everybody involved, and making them see what is needed and why they should be involved. And that takes, again, communication. It's a lot of talking, basically, what you have to do. And that's the difficulty as well. Not everybody wants to listen, not even on upper management levels. They usually don't see what the issue is. And that's why you again have to go to the risk side of things and tell them what risks are involved, how you can handle them, what benefits it will bring the organization. Because every board member, every C-level member will want to talk about the benefits to an organization. That's what they do.
Do you think, I can certainly say from my experience that there's been so much risk thrown at the board, and it's always from an IT perspective or from a CISO and security perspective. It's always on cybersecurity. And I feel like the board is getting a little bit, not overwhelmed, it's becoming like run of the mill, and they're not really assessing it the same way they did 18 months ago. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, got that down, we've got it. One of the things I've seen that I believe has helped is getting marketing involved. And that's 100% down to they're better at communication than just about everybody else in the company. I mean, that's their job. And if you can get marketing involved and you can get them to communicate to staff in a way that isn't how an IT person may do it, I've seen such a change. And then they don't mind it. It's something different. They're usually marketing out, but you also have to market in. That I've seen a change, especially even to the board, because the board see the marketing and they're like, oh, okay, I now see where the correlation is, instead of just being told figures and facts. And I suppose when there's other things in front of you in a nicer fashion, it becomes easier to take.
That's actually a really good point you make. Marketing is a very powerful tool. Marketing and PR, public relations, build the image of cybersecurity. And yes, some board members have become kind of tired of the whole cybersecurity thing. It's become a daily thing, right? Like, yes. Look at the media. There's something horrible happening in cybersecurity today. Whatever day, every time you pop on the TV, there you go. Somebody had a data breach. There was ransomware here or there. It really is, well, I can see they become tired of it, but that being tired doesn't mean you can become complacent or you can actually stop paying attention to it. And that's especially what marketing is good at. They can create that market. They can create that need, that demand in your own organization to help you build rapport for cybersecurity. That's a good point.
Yeah, they address it in a new way, a way that you probably wouldn't have thought about it, and it brings it back to the table in a new fashion.
Yep, that's true.
So one of the services that we are asked for quite, well, actually not quite a lot, it's only in the recent months or so, we're being asked whether we believe, from our perspective, do static campaigns work, or should we be looking more for always on? Now, I can see the advantages of both. And I suppose before I'll answer, I'll let you go and see whether what I am seeing and my advantages correlate with yours.
Okay, so yes, there are advantages to both, but I personally believe that training should be consistent. It should be always on. It should be on demand even. Whatever device you want to train from, wherever you are, whatever content you want to train on, it should be there. It should be available to you, because that way people that are really interested in the matter and really want to work to become more secure and have more secure behavior are able to do so. We need to enable our employees. That's the role of the security officer. That's the role of the security department. So training, the more always on training can be, the better it is, if you ask me. Second thing that's really important is what we see is that not everybody is equal when it comes to training, in the sense that some people like video, some people like games, some people like reading documents, and we need to cater to all of them. Second to that is that you see that especially larger organizations, they're multinational, so they have to deal with multiple cultures. People in different cultures react differently to different training materials. If you look at people from the UK, they have a different perspective on humor than people from Germany do, or people from Japan. So we need to make sure we cater to all of those, and that needs to be encompassed in that one campaign. So not only does it need to be always on, it needs to cater to everybody's personal perspectives, personal culture, and we need to do it in a way that people are always able to access that content at a time that's convenient to them, whether it be during their commute home or on the couch back home. That's one of the reasons, for instance, we have our security series is on Amazon Prime, so you can actually watch it from your couch at home with the rest of your family. So no, that's my perspective.
And from me, that's pretty much spot on. But actually, what I've seen is the static campaigns, which I never really liked before, are actually working more now than they ever have, because everyone's working from home. The reason why I didn't like static campaigns before is that a campaign would be turned on, emails would get pushed out. You're sitting next to a colleague and you go, "Did you just get a weird email from Amazon?" "Yeah, I did too." "Oh, I bet you that's that phishing campaign." So they've kind of worked it out as a group, not as an individual. It both achieves the same thing, I'm not going to lie, but if they were sitting by themselves, would they identify it? So I've always been a little bit more leaning towards the always on type campaigns. But obviously now they're working from home, they haven't got their colleagues sitting right next to them, so their static campaigns are actually working in a way.
Well, there's one thing I would change to what you just mentioned, is that you don't have to send the same email to everyone, right? We have a great feature where they randomize the phishing emails. I would always use that, because even when working from home, you have other people that you can communicate to very easily using Slack or Messenger or whatever you use within your organization. So that communication is still there. So randomize those emails. That will enhance the training.
The results.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have been great in adapting. So obviously the phishing campaigns, we all moved, to working from home. We were all getting 1,000 Amazon boxes and everything else delivered to us, not in the high street, you name it. And the phishing campaigns and the emails that you got sent, they adapted really quickly to that. Which you saw much better results. The other change that I've seen is and you mentioned it kind of, about the different humor, but the other one is instead of wanting to see or being able to have the time to see a 10-minute video on training, the videos are getting much shorter and much more poignant, to the point. That has helped immensely, because people don't think they're going to have to sit down and watch a 15-minute video. They're like, "It's cool. It's like a 35-second video. I'm done. I can do this." And their uptake on completing the videos is much better. Yeah,
micro learning works. Cybersecurity. Look, we're not in the most sexiest of industries here. Most people don't talk cyber lingo like most IT people do. Most people don't understand and don't want to understand. They have a laptop. They know how to work that laptop, know how to work with Word or Excel or what have you. That's about as far as people are wanting to go. So forcing cybersecurity training onto them doesn't work that way. For training to be effective, it needs to be fun. That's the most important part. That's why you see a lot of humor being ingested into the trainings nowadays. If you look at, we've got some great series out there that you look at, not for the value of cybersecurity awareness training. It is mainly fun to look at. It's fun to watch. There's great actors, good stories, nice plots. You actually, after an episode is finished, you really want to look at the next episode, because, hey, you want to know what happens. That's the new trend of training. That's what we call new school security awareness training. And I really do believe that's the next level. And if you keep it short, if you keep it fun, if you keep it to the point, and if you keep it relevant to that person, let's face it, a receptionist at a company needs to know different things than somebody in the financial department. The financial department might need to know about compliance training, etc. Well, that person at reception desk, well, maybe something about tailgating, that's way more important to her than knowing about all those financial compliance frameworks that are out there. So we need to make it fun, relevant, short, and if we do that, well, you can have good results.
Right, so I suppose at this point we should probably wrap up and maybe talk about the takeaways from our discussion. We've spoken about a lot of things, communication being probably key, making it a whole company discussion, not a departmental, not one particular area. It shouldn't be risk focused. The whole organization should be involved and understanding their role in that. Companies need to be adaptable. What works this month may not work next month, and you have to constantly look at that. Security awareness training should be part of the security culture, which is part of the company culture. It's imperative that you train the staff at whatever level, whatever works, and whatever assessment that you've done within your organization. It doesn't work, what works for retail isn't going to work for healthcare.
Not necessarily true.
And then, maybe look at the different tactics that others around you, in your domain are doing. Gamification does work for some, it doesn't work for others, but look around, speak to others within your sector and, find out what they're doing, what's working for them. Any other takeaways that you would like to drop in there, Jelle?
The one thing I usually tell people is that figure out what's in it for you. Figure out why security is important to you. Because if you understand why it's important to you, you can pretty much figure out why it's important to your organization. And then you can make the actual choice to join them and actually participate. If you understand why you want to be secure, if you understand what data you're working with, what your organization wants to attain, well, there's no reason not to participate. There's no reason not to take part.
That is so very true. Well, thank you so much. I will pass back to Johnny. I have enjoyed our conversation immensely.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you so much for your time. Some really fascinating points there, like you just said at the end, and some brilliant conversations. If you have any questions around the discussion points from the session, or would like to find out more information about what security awareness training could look like for you and your organization, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We're always happy to help. Many thanks.